Steinem. Gloria Steinem, I'm sure there are times when you feel like you're the most misunderstood person in the world. So I'd like to begin our conversation by asking you what you would most like people to understand about your position with women's rights and the women's movement.
Well, first of all, that I'm one of millions of women, in fact, engaged in this movement. And it's kind of accidental that people know some of us more than the rest of us, but that it really is from the bottom up, grassroots, organic kind of revolution that's happening, and there's no stopping it. I can make it come faster, I hope, but no one can stop it.
What do you stand for, and what does the movement stand for as you see it?
Well, it's pointing out the injustice of the system and figuring out how to change it. By that I mean a system that consigns people who are physically different, whether it's because they're female or because they're black or brown, to service positions, unpaid jobs, underpaid ones, actual danger, as in the case of black people who get, you know, really physical punishment, and women who get the same thing in situations like abortion. So it's it's setting about changing that system so that at a very minimum, no one will be born into that kind of second-class and subservient kind of spot because of a sex or race difference.
Then what does it not stand for?
Well, it doesn't stand for a reversal of the present situation. That's a fantasy, I think, that a lot of men have, that we want to become like men, that we want to reverse the situation so that we become the establishment and the rulers, and they become the cheap labor. Right? That's not true, and that's really fear on their part, because they're convinced that we want to do to them what, for all this time, they've been doing to us. But it's a whole revolution which will change and humanize both sex roles so that men also won't have to be, financially responsible all the time and big successes and strong and always right and never admit emotion and all those problems of the male role. It's as if we've taken the whole spectrum of human capabilities, sliced it in half, and put the active ones on one side, the passive on the other, and deprived, therefore, both halves of the whole spectrum.
Politically, what impact will the women's movement have?
Well, I hope it will. It is a revolution, reform, and it should change the whole face of the political scene at every level. And it might even make the Constitution a living document for the first time.
Let's work into the conversation now. Betty Harris, who is the publisher of MS, and Gloria Steinem, as you know, is the editor. Betty, is the magazine editorially going to support a slate of candidates?
Well, actually, that's a question you should ask Gloria, since she's in charge of pretty much of the editorial content. But I'll try, because I think I know the answer. No, it is not going to support a slate of candidates per se. The current issue has a rating of the candidates in there, rated from the point of view of women's major interests. I think readers can read the thing and decide themselves who they ought to support.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular names, though, that you and Betty are supporting?
That Gloria and I are supporting?
Excuse me, that you and Gloria.
Yeah. Well, both of us are supporting Shirley Chisholm and her aspirations. Primarily, I think that she's going to make a major contribution to the content of the Democratic Convention, in that she's going to force some issues and some considerations that might otherwise might be ignored. In the event that she fails in her ultimate goal, I think both of us would be supporting Senator McGovern as we have said, as the best white male candidate.
Mm-hmm. Gloria, why don't you run for office?
Because it's not my character. It is hard sometimes to figure out which is conditioning and which is character in women, since we have been so conditioned to retire and fall back and so on. But I really think it is character, and I could not function well in a kind of life where I couldn't escape, for a week or two at a time. But I really like to work for other women candidates and to raise money and write speeches and do anything I can.
Gloria, will you be attending the political conventions this year?
Yes, I'm going to the Democratic convention, and there are many Republican women involved in the Women's Political Caucus going to the Republican one.
And what do you expect to do there, and what do you expect will happen?
Well, I hope that when we arrive there, if our efforts and our reforms have been successful or been allowed to be successful, the population will look different. I mean, the last convention, the average delegate was over 50, white, male, made more than $18,000 a year. That doesn't exactly represent the country. And I hope that just looking at the convention hall is going to show a difference, and that some of the ancient guys with cigars will be gone. There will be a women's caucus there, as there will be a black caucus, a youth caucus. And there will be, of course, a challenge of any delegation that doesn't have the proper percentage of women and minorities and young people. So that whole challenge procedure, is going to be very important. And then I hope that there will be enough of the more or less humanist delegates, and especially candidates, and especially Shirley Chisholm, who have arrived there with some power, some delegate strength, so that we will be able to change the kind of platform and the kind of candidate the party picks.
Are you saying then that no matter who comes out as the candidate for the Democratic Party, that you will support that party over the Republican Party?
No, not no matter who. The Democratic Party tried to put a loyalty oath in its call to the convention, but we're certainly not going to sign that. There are some candidates which will be acceptable.
So what would you do then? For whom would you vote?
Well, if we turned out with a choice, between Nixon and Wallace or something, there certainly would be a fourth party, and there may be anyway. I mean, it depends on what kind of. If Muskie's positions are not good enough, then there would still be a fourth party.
I want to thank both of you for talking with us today, Gloria Steinem and Betty Harris, and the very best of good luck to both of you with your magazine, MS.